Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, my name is Dr. Himanshu Tyagi and I am teaching this course on heat and mass transfer. For last 3-4 lectures, we are looking at convection heat transfer. So, let us continue with that. So, today is lecture number 16 and this will be the fourth part for the introduction to convection. Before we go ahead, let us do a quick recap of what we did in lecture number 15, where we had looked at the differential convection equations. So, the three very powerful equations we have looked at: conservation of mass, conservation of momentum and conservation of energy. So, these are the three equations which are used predominantly in fluid mechanics as well as convection problems. In order to understand these equations in more detail, we looked at a solved example as shown in this schematic over here, in which the bottom plate is fixed and the top plate is moving with a constant velocity capital V, and we wanted to figure out parameters like what is the velocity profile inside over here, what is the temperature profile and what is the rate of heat transfer taking place from the top and bottom surface. And I think we calculated this temperature profile over here. This is the solution that we obtained after applying the conservation of mass, momentum and energy balance equation. And then based on the temperature profile, we could figure out that half of the heat is escaping from the bottom, Q dot bottom, whose value turns out to be negative, and half of the heat transfer takes place from the top, which is having the equal value, but the sign is positive over here. Then we went and looked with the solution of Blasius equation, and with that solution we are actually directly able to get the value of the boundary layer thickness, which is delta x, for both the velocity boundary layer delta x as well as the thermal boundary layer, which is delta Tx, and both are related to one another with just a multiplier fraction linked with Prandtl number. So, we looked at also the physical importance of boundary layer, that in reality it is very thin. So, we looked at one example, the distance at which after flowing at 1 meter per second on a flat plate, the distance at which the boundary layer turns turbulent is approximately 7.5 meters, and if we plot that distance on the x axis and we figure out that the velocity boundary layer is only about I think we have put it 5 centimeters thick. So, only 2 inches after 7.5 meters. So, if we compare these two numbers, it turns out that the shape of the boundary layer is going to be very thin. It is going to increase very gradually, almost along the flat plate it is moving. So, these are some of the things that we looked at, and then we asked ourselves some questions as well, that what are these parameters. I think somewhere back we asked that question. Nope. So, I will summarize that question again, that how do we calculate the value of these parameters once we want to average them, and which parameters are we talking about, like written over here on the right hand side. For heat transfer, we want to calculate these three values, Q dot, H and Nusselt, and I can put a subscript L, that we want these values for a plate of length L as shown over here. And in addition to that, we also want to figure out values for force, how much force is actually acting on that particular plate, what is the shear stress which is acting on the plate, and what is the coefficient of friction which is acting on plate. So, if we know these values as a function of x, then we can integrate them like we had done last time. You can see on the left hand side over here, and I think we had reached this particular point, which is shown in the red box over here. So, just before the start of the lecture, I just plugged in that constant c value over here, and this is the expression that we actually get. So, this is kind of the drag force which is acting on this particular plate, and very soon we will figure out the drag force actually has two components. one is the skin friction component, and there is the another one because of the pressure drop. So technically, if it's a flat plate or any streamlined body, then skin friction is more predominant if the fluid is flowing like this. But if we keep it normal to the flow of the fluid, so if I keep a flat plate, if I can show in the video, not horizontally where the flow is actually taking place, but if I make it vertical, then the flow is hitting over here, then the flow will go up, some portion will come from down, and there will be a wake which will be generated on the back side, which I can show over here. So the flow will actually go like this, and there huge pressure drop actually takes place between point A and point B. So in this particular case, the drag is predominantly due to the pressure term over here. So since we are dealing with a streamlined body, a flat plate is almost like a streamline, it's not a bluff body. So then most of this particular force is actually coming because of the skin friction, and that term we have figured out from our analysis yesterday. Now let us continue this particular analysis and try and figure out what is the value of tau WL and CFL as well. So for that, I will move on to the next slide, and I will rewrite the equation again. So what we are essentially looking at is, if we have a very thin plate of length L, so I want to find out what is the total force, the total drag force which is acting over here, and this comes out because of the boundary layer. The shape of the velocity profile is like this. So if the plate is actually slowing down the momentum of the fluid, that momentum is itself being felt by the plate. So if the plate is slowing down the fluid is trying to pull the plate ahead with it. So both those forces turn out to be same. So this is how we got the value of FL. So this is written on the previous slide. Now using the value of FL, I can also calculate what is the total shear stress which is acting over here on the average value. So if we want to use the average value, then I just divide it by that particular area. So now this expression I can get. So if I go back, and what I want to write is this particular expression over here. Okay. So what I am going to get is this expression over here, 0.664 W, which is the width of the plate, V, free stream velocity, rho is the density of the fluid, mu is the dynamic viscosity, V again is the free stream velocity, and capital L is the length of the plate, and the area of the plate is simply width into length. So we can do certain cancellations over here, and 1 power of L will get cancelled over here as well. So what we end up getting is an expression like this, 0.664 rho mu V, and L appears in the denominator over here. And can I write it in terms of, because shear stress for fluids is generally written in terms of half rho V square. So I want to write it in terms of half rho V square. So how can I get this rho NV outside over there? What I am going to do is divide it by rho NV on the denominator over here, and then I have this particular expression. Because 0.66, I will double it, it becomes 1.33, and what I get is square root of Reynolds L. So this turns out to be a very neat equation, which is simply this. And in this equation, how we have defined Reynolds number is essentially simply VL by nu. So I will put a blue star over here. The reason I want to write it in terms of half rho V square, I think students may remember, is that next I want to talk about the coefficient of friction, which is CF. So if I want to take its average value, it is simply tau WL divided by half rho V square. This is by definition the coefficient of friction over here. And then we plug this thing over here, and all we get is 1.33 divided by square root of REL. So, this also turns out to be a very neat equation over here, and these are all average values that we have calculated. So, let me do a quick recap of what we have done in the last 5 minutes and where did we start from. So, we actually started from the Blasius solution. You remember yesterday we had looked at the Blasius solution, and from there we got the value of delta x. Then we plugged in this particular equation. So, we can see that we have obtained these two particular relationship that I have highlighted with green star on the left hand side, which is the shear stress for the whole plate, the average value, and the coefficient of friction, average value. So, let us move on to the right hand side and just recap how we have actually progressed. We started with the Blasius solution, which gave us these values over here. It gave us the delta as a function of x, which is the thickness of the boundary layer, tau w, the wall shear stress as a function of x, and coefficient of friction as a function of x. And through our analysis by integration, we have figured out the average values, that for the whole plate how much force is actually being applied by the fluid on the plate, and how much is the average wall shear stress, and how much is the average coefficient of friction. So, this step we have taken, and these values we have figured out. And why are engineers actually interested in the average value more is because we are wanting to figure out what is the overall force which is acting on a particular plate, even if it is horizontal or vertical, and based on the overall values we want to calculate the overall wall shear stress and the overall coefficient of friction. So, this was part 1 where our focus was on the momentum. Now, let us do similar exercise where our focus will be on heat, which means we will look at again the Blasius solution for parameters like Hx, the convective heat transfer coefficient as a function of x. Similarly, we will look at Nusselt number as a function of x, and based on this we will calculate these three values, which are very important for engineers. One is the overall rate of heat transfer, what is the overall convective heat transfer coefficient, and the overall value of the Nusselt number. And I can put L subscript over here because I am dealing with the flat plate of length L. So, width I am assuming unit width or capital W, which you can see gets cancelled out. So, it is kind of independent of width, but it is predominantly dependent on the length. So, this is what we want to do next. We want to figure out part 2. So, we will continue with Blasius solution, and let us try and see that what does the solution look like for heat transfer. So, the solution for Blasius equation gives us H as a function of x, which is 0.332, Prandtl 1 by 3, thermal conductivity K, square root V by nu x. So, this I will call as the local heat transfer coefficient, local convective heat transfer coefficient. And based on this equation, I can also write the local Nusselt number, which will simply be Hx into x divided by k, because by definition this is what we should get, and this expression turns out to be 0.332 Prandtl 1 by 3 k Vx by nu. And these are the solutions of Blasius equation, which we have not solved, but the result we are using over here. And according to Blasius, this relationship is true for all the Prandtl number greater than 0.6. And I think this number our students will immediately realize that what is Vx by nu. I can replace it with Reynolds number with a subscript x, which means I can say Reynolds as a function of x is nothing but Vx by nu. So, I can rewrite it in a very simplified form and say local Nusselt number turns out to be simply 0.332 Prandtl to the power 1 by 3 multiplied by Reynolds to the power 1 by 2. And I think I made a small mistake over here. There should be no k over here because we are dividing by k over here. So let me go ahead and erase this k. That is why we get a non-dimensionalized parameter equation like this, and this thing is known as the local Nusselt number, right? So if we quickly go back one slide, and now we see these are the two parameters that I was talking about, and these are the two parameters, the local heat transfer coefficient and the local Nusselt number, that we have expression is obtained by solving the Blasius equation. So this is the result of the Blasius, this is the Blasius solution, and what we want to find out based on this are three parameters which are given over here. I want to find out the overall rate of heat transfer, the overall convective coefficient, and the overall Nusselt number. In order to obtain these values, let me quickly draw the problem that we are looking at. So we have a heated plate over here, where the whole plate is at some temperature Ts, and let me assume some number over here, just that we can get a clear picture in our mind. It is kept in a flow of cold air having velocity u infinity. So let me just assume it is 1 meters per second, and temperature T infinity, and let me assume 20 degrees over here. The fluid which I am assuming is air. So we know a thermal boundary layer will be formed over here. So I will call it the thermal boundary layer, and we have learnt in the last class to figure out how to draw the temperature profile over here. So it will look something like this. So if I can draw these temperature lines, so the length of each of these blue lines represent the value of temperature at that particular point. So this length represents 20 degree, and this should be 4 times, and this length is 80 degrees. So the temperature here is 80 degrees. So our question that we want to solve is that what is the overall value of Q dot L for the L length for this particular plate. So I am going to assume the plate length is L, and what is known to us are the values of NUX is known and HX, both are known to us. So how do I calculate Q dot from here? So I will have to do some simple integration. I will say Q dot L is simply dQ dot L for the particular length L. So what I am going to do is I am going to assume, if I draw it in 2 dimension the plate, that at this particular point, this particular area I am taking as dA, having the small differential element dx, the width of the plate is W, overall length is L, and this small dQ dot I am taking as how much convective heat is going out from here, dQ dot. So in order to find the value for the whole plate, I will just figure it out for a small strip and then integrate it with over the whole distance. That is what I am doing mathematically over here. And small dQ dot I can simply write as Hx into small area dA, which I have explained over here, multiplied by the temperature difference. And dA I can write as the product of dA is simply this width W multiplied by the differential element dx. So that I can substitute over here, and what do I get next is simply, and the constants I will take outside. So width is a constant, and Ts minus T infinity is also a constant. All I am left with is Hx dx, which I want to integrate from 0 to L. And Hx value I will go back one slide and write from there, because that value we have already obtained from Blasius solution. So let me go back and write the value of Hx. So it is 0.332 Prandtl to the power 1 by 3 K, then it is V by nu x. So x actually turns out it is in the denominator. So here again there are a lot of constants that I can see around. and all these constants I can maybe say represent by capital C. So, let me figure out a way. I think all these constants, these are all constants. So, let me call them capital C. So, and that C I can take outside. So, I get C W Ts minus T infinity, and I am simply integrating over L which quantity? Dx by square root of x. So, this integration is pretty straightforward. It will be simply 2 into square root of x, then I apply the limit, it becomes 2 into square root of L. So, 2 I pull outside, then what I get is Ts minus T infinity into square root of L. This is my final answer for Q dot L. All I need to do is plug in the value of C, which I already know from here. So, C value I already know. Okay. So, if I go back one slide or two slides, so the first solution we have obtained. So, we wanted to find all these 3 blue arrow values. So, the first blue arrow value we have obtained. Now, let us try and figure out that based on this overall rate of heat transfer, can I figure out the value of HL, which is the overall convective heat transfer coefficient. So, by definition, HL is simply Q dot divided by the total area divided by temperature difference. This is Q dot L, and Q dot L value I can obtain from here. So, what I get is simply Q dot L I will write as 2 CW Ts minus T infinity square root of L. Area in the denominator I can write as width into length, and then Ts minus T infinity. So, I hope nobody is getting confused. I am doing it very slowly, and it is simple arithmetic multiplication and integration. So, it is very straightforward. So, these two temperatures get cancelled out, the width also gets cancelled out. So, all I get finally is 2C divided by square root of L. And now, the time has come to plug in the value of C. So, I can plug in this value of C from over here. So, C is simply 0.332, which I have to make twice. So, I get 0.664 times Prandtl to the power 1 by 3 times K, and in the square root I think I will get V by nu L. Is it correct, or I am making some mistake? I think it is correct. Now, what I can do is I can pull L outside this particular bracket. So, what I want to write it in is this form 0.664. I will use black color. Then I will pull K divided by L into Prandtl to the power 1 by 3. If I pull L outside from over here, whatever remains inside is V into capital L divided by nu, which is simply Reynolds number to the power half, because we have a square root sign over here. And this is my final solution for the value of HL. So, if I know the length of the plate from which heat transfer is taking place, and I know the velocity with which the air is coming, I can figure out what is the convective heat transfer coefficient. Now, I think some student may have lost track why we are doing all this exercise. So, I will go back to the conduction exercise. You remember steady state conduction in plane wall, we have done so many exercises. So, I will just share over there that we used to figure out some temperature profile under steady state, and then we used to take two heat transfer coefficients, one on the left side, one on the right hand side. So, this was HL, temperature T infinity L, here we have T infinity R and HR. So, now we are beginning to get a glimpse that how we will be able to find out the value of HL, because in those problems we were just taking some numbers like 2 watts per meter square Kelvin, maybe from book or from experience. Now, we can figure out from all the properties over here that if we just know what is the height of this particular wall H, and I know the velocity of air over here, and I know the thermal properties of air like the value of K, rho, Cp, Prandtl number, other properties, then I can figure out the value of HL. It is as simple as that. The only thing that we are assuming in this whole thing is that the flow is laminar. That is the only thing that we are assuming. So, we have got very beautiful result, and also we have correlated it to our objective, that why are we studying all these convection topics, external convection, internal, introduction, the natural convection, forced convection, all these things. It is just to figure out that when we are doing some conduction problem or convection problem, then in the boundaries that some heat transfer coefficient has to be assumed. So, can we make a very good assumption? That is the purpose over here, and I think that is what we have obtained. And the final, so I will go back and put a tick over here, because we have figured out the value of HL also. The only thing which is remaining is Nusselt L, NUL. And all I can do is simply divide this whole expression, because Nusselt L is what? It is HL divided by K. And we can see that K by L is appearing over here, which means it will just get cancelled out. And if I can write little bit small over here, Nusselt as a function of L will simply turn out to be, maybe I will switch to another color, will simply turn out to be 0.664 times Prandtl to the power 1 by 3 and Reynolds to the power 1 by 2. Another interesting thing we have, I can see in this particular blue equation over here, I am putting a blue star. What does this equation remind us of? So, maybe I will write over here. If the students remember, there was one general equation I had written earlier. So, Nusselt is simply constant multiplied by Reynolds to the power m and Prandtl to the power n. I think many of the students will remember, 2 lectures back or 1 lecture back, I have written that analogy over there, which means all the convection correlations for forced convection will turn out to be simply Prandtl number to the power some constant multiplied by Reynolds number to the power some constant multiplied with a constant. So, only C, M and N values we have to evaluate and see exactly how what we are doing, what we have got over here. So, constant value we have obtained, it is this one 0.664. Prandtl power we have obtained, it is 1 by 3. Reynolds power we have obtained 1 by 2. So, very beautiful result we have obtained, and this thing we have also correlated it with our past knowledge also. So, everything is going in very smooth flow, because whatever we were doing earlier, whatever we are learning new, we are correlating it with the previous thing. Okay. So, let us move on to the next slide. Now, we will make one more analysis over here, and this is very important, because we want to write some sort of an analogy between heat transfer and momentum. So, earlier I was always writing many times, I think students remember that momentum and heat and species in the term of mass. So, all these things are correlated in terms of one another. So, now you can also see it mathematically, that how do we correlate them together. So, let me go back few equations where we had started with the convection differential equations. So, I will pull those equations over here, because I want to show to the student very clear analogy between this black equation over here and this black equation over here. So, in the new slide I am going to rewrite these equations for the flow taking place over a flat plate. So, if I write the x direction momentum equation, it is simply u del u by del x plus v del u by del y is equals to nu del square u del y square, and the heat conduction equation, the heat energy equation I can write is something like this. Now, some student may actually ask that why have I not written some term over here. There was one term del p by del x, and there was another term for here del square t by del x square. So, these two we can assume are negligible under which conditions? So, if flow is taking place somewhere where the pressure driven flow is not there, then we can always say that del p by del x is pressure does not change along with the x direction. So, this we can say if one plate is moving over the other plate, that is one good point. then del square t by del x square. So, that we can neglect in comparison with del square t by del y square. How? Because we can see that y stands for the direction along the boundary layer, the height of the boundary layer. That thickness we remember was very small, 2.5 centimeter, and in the x direction our critical length came out to be around 7 meters. So, if some temperature changes maybe 10 degrees in 7 meters, or if some 10 degree takes place in just 1 centimeter or 2 centimeter, then the gradient in one case is 100 times higher than the gradient in another case. So, the smaller one we can neglect. So, that is the logic behind neglecting this thing. So, all these yellow terms we are neglecting. We are just focusing on these two equations. One is for the momentum, the top one, and the one is for the heat. And we want to show that both of them actually are the same equation, very similar equation, and we can do that very easily using the non-dimensionalized analysis. So, what we want to do is non-dimensionalize these equations. I will just pause for just a little while. Let me go ahead and do that, so that I can jump ahead and try and give some correlation over here. So, the correlation that what we are trying to find out is that momentum is governed by parameters like, or the result of momentum is seen in parameters like force, how much force is acting on the plate, how much wall shear stress is acting, how much friction coefficient is acting. These are for momentum. And for heat, the similar parameters are how much is the rate of heat transfer, how much is convective heat transfer coefficient, and what is the Nusselt number. So, if I can write one equation in which Nusselt number and the coefficient of friction I can correlate. In other words, if I can show somehow that Nusselt number and coefficient of friction are correlated, then this is very powerful equation. This is what I have written in blue over here, that they are function of one another, maybe not directly proportional, but another higher order terms or something else. See how powerful it is. What it would mean is that if some ship is going somewhere, or some cardboard which is inside the water, it is I am dragging it around. If I simply measure the drag force, how much on that ship or the cardboard is, I can figure out what is the rate of heat transfer if there is a temperature difference between the ship and the water, or the cardboard and the water, any solid surface and the liquid surface. So, if I just measure drag, I will be able to figure out how much is the heat transfer taking place, and vice versa. If I just figure out how much is the heat transfer taking place from the ship to the water, I will be able to figure out by this correlation how much drag force is acting on it, because at the deep inside both are actually linked with one another, they are similar. And that is the objective of this particular slide, that we want to show that both of these particular equations in non-dimensionalized form look exactly the similar. Okay. So, let me go ahead and do this non-dimensionalization. So, I think we have done it one time earlier. Now, we will do it much more thoroughly. Let us go ahead and do that. So, I will define some new variables. For distance, I will put this is x star. So, x star is nothing simply but x divided by L. Then similarly, I will introduce y star, which is simply y divided by L. So, both the coordinates x and y now I have converted into non-dimensionalized coordinates simply by dividing it with the characteristic length, which means if I am if the plate is, let us say 8 meters long, and I am standing at the 4 meter point, that instead of saying that x equals to 4 meter, now I will say x is 0.5, because 4 divided by 8 will give me 0.5. That is what I want to do. Now, I will also non-dimensionalize the x direction velocity u with the free stream velocity capital V, and similarly I will non-dimensionalize the velocity in the y direction, which was v earlier, with v star, which is I will just divide by the free stream velocity. So, always keep this picture in mind, that we are talking about this particular boundary layer over here. The coordinate system I will put, this is the x direction, this is y direction, and this is my free stream velocity, which I can write as V, and the free stream temperature is T infinity. The temperature of the surface, which in reality could be the surface could be the ship or some cardboard or anything which is submerged in the fluid, it could be aerofoil as well. So, these are the type of non-dimensionalizations that I am going to do. So, I will put a box over here, and the last one I will do is I will non-dimensionalize temperature also. So, I will now do that. What I will do is I will introduce a non-dimensionalized temperature T star, which I will take as the difference between this and the T surface and T infinity and T surface. So, in all the cases this non-dimensionalized parameter will go between 0 and 1. So, if you know it is 0, then the lowest value, if it is 1, then the highest value. Now, let us apply all these non-dimensionalization equations in the two green equations given on the top left side, and then see what happens to these equations. So, let us do for the first equation what will happen. So, what I am doing is looking at this first equation over here, I will put equation number 1. So, u del u by del x, so u I can replace with, now I am seeing over here, I want to replace u with u star. So, u I can replace with u star into v, right, and x in the denominator I can replace with x star into v. What does this mean? U del u by del x can become what? First u will become u star into capital V, then we have del of u star into capital V, sorry, this is capital V. In denominator I have, instead of del x, I will write del x star into capital L. Is that correct? Can I simplify it little bit further? What I will get? I will get, first is the u star, then all these are constants. So, let me show the constants in green color over here. So, capital V is actually constant, this capital V is a constant, this L is a constant. So, all constants I can club together and I will say it becomes V square by L. I can take them outside the bracket, right? Constants I can take outside the differential sign. And what do I get is del u star by del x star. Okay. So, this is how I have non-dimensionalized the first term. I am going slowly just to explain to the students. So, this first term is equivalent to u del u by del x is become this particular expression over here. Similarly, for v I can also do. So, v del u by del y simply becomes what? Again I will take out the constants over here, it will become v square by L, and what will remain is simply v star del u star by del y star, right. So, second term also I have non-dimensionalized over here, second term I have non-dimensionalized. What happens to the third term, del square u del y square? I think that also is very easy. Del square u del y square will simply become, the constant will be outside should be v divided by L square, because we have two y's at the bottom, only one u on the top. So, what we get is del u star del square u star del y star square. So, the third one also we have non-dimensionalized. So, if I plug all these three equations into equation number 1, what will I get? I hope I am going slow enough so that students can figure out. Can I use the next slide over here? So, this whole equation will become something like this. So, it will be v square by L u star del u star divided by del x star plus again v square by L, then we have v star del u star by del y star, and the right hand side was nu into v by L square, nu into v by L square and del square U star divided by del Y star square. So, let me do quick calculations. What will happen? So, L will get cancelled on the left side and 1 L will remain over here. Then V will get cancelled on one side and then 1 V will remain over here. So, what we will essentially get is the whole equation on the left hand side will be non-dimensionalized. Oops. Okay. So, we will get the first term plus we will get the second term, and on the right hand side what will we get? We will be having nu divided by capital V divided by capital L, and then this term over here. So, these non-dimensionalized terms are long to write, so I am not going to write them. And what is this number over here? V L by nu is simply 1 by Reynolds number L. I think students can fill these brackets themselves, right? What will be happen in the first one over here? This is simply this thing. This will come and sit in this bracket. Then the second thing over here, it will come, sit in this bracket, and the third thing over here, it will come and sit in this bracket. So, I think these things students can do on their own. Let us go ahead and so this is the solution of equation number 1. Equation number 1 that we wanted to non-dimensionalize, we have reached our objective. Let us quickly do non-dimensionalization of equation number 2 also. So, this one I will do little bit fast because the process is exactly the same. So, the equation was u del t by del x over here, u del t by del x. So, what will we get? U will become u star into capital V, del t by del x will become del t star by del x star multiplied by the L over here, and t star, if we can see over here, if I take a differential for this d star, so denominator I will get, because denominator is a constant, so I will get 1 by t infinity minus Ts. So, what I will get is 1 by t infinity minus Ts. So, this is my first term. Same thing I will get in the second term. So, I will get V star into V divided by t infinity minus Ts into L into del t star divided by del y star. Okay. And on the right hand side, what do I want to non-dimensionalize? The right hand side I can write over here was simply alpha del square t by del y square. So, if I non-dimensionalize this thing, what will I get? Alpha divided by t infinity minus Ts, and the numerator will be del square t star. Denominator I want to make del y star square. So, L square I have to put outside. Okay. Now, we can see this fraction I can always cancel throughout. So, 1 by t infinity minus Ts gets cancelled from all these three terms, right. One of the L's will also get cancelled, L, and this power will become power 1, which means what I will get now for the heat equation is the first bracket plus the second bracket. So, first bracket is this one over here. This is my first bracket. This is my second bracket. And what I will get on the right hand side is simply alpha, because alpha is still remaining over here, alpha divided by V into L into this bracket over here, which is the last red bracket, which is this thing. So, these three brackets we can plug in, that I will leave to the students. Now, what does this look like? Alpha divided by VL. What is alpha divided by VL look like? If it was not alpha, if it was nu divided by VL, then I think students will immediately tell, sir, it is 1 by Reynolds number, which means can I also write this as 1 by Reynolds number? But I will now write a condition, if and only if alpha equals to nu. And under what condition is alpha is equal to nu? I think this we have seen earlier, when Prandtl number is 1, because Prandtl number is the ratio of nu by alpha. So, if alpha equals to nu, I can clearly write if Prandtl number equals to 1. So, let me make that assumption that Prandtl number is 1. Whichever ship is flowing, whatever cardboard is flowing in whichever fluid, which means now the fluid property is fixed. I cannot take it to be liquid metal or to glycerine if I want to apply this direct heat and momentum analogy. If I take those ones, then I have to apply some correction factor, some 5 times or 10 times, something correction factor I have to apply. Which means now this our heat equation also becomes like this. It will become first box plus second box plus 1 upon is equal to, not plus, is equal to 1 by REL into third box. And what are these boxes over here? The first thing is this one. So, let me go ahead and write the final non-dimensionalized form. So, what I am going to write is all these boxes. So, maybe I can write it small over here. I hope you will be able to see it. So, this is the momentum equation. V star del u star del y star equals to 1 by REL del square u star divided by del y star square. So, this is for momentum. I will write m over here, and this is for heat, capital H. So, here I am going to write this equation. It will become u star del T star by del x star. I think this is not square, it is here, it is star, plus V star del T star by del y star is equals to 1 by REL del square T star divided by del y star square. All I was trying to say when I started this particular topic over here, which is the momentum, heat and species analogy. Analogy word I forgot, so I will write over here analogy. Analogy means similarity. So, if there is a similarity between them, now we can clearly see, we just replace T by U and we will get the same equation. So, temperatures field can be replaced by velocity field, that is what it is suggesting over here in the non-dimensionalized form. Under which conditions? Under this condition over here. And of course, this is whole thing has been done for laminar case. What will we gain by doing this thing? Very powerful equation we will get, which is this relationship between the heat and momentum, because all these things, maybe this is one family sitting over here, this is the momentum family over here, capital M, and this is the heat family over here. So, we have figured out this is having the same relationship with one another. And what is that relationship? Now, I will write that on the new slide. That so, formal name for that is the modified Reynolds analogy, and it is also known as the Chilton-Colburn analogy. It is simply given as Cfx is directly a function of Nusselt x with two constants over here. So, constants I will write in Greek. This is just a constant REL by 2, and this is also constant over here, Prandtl to the power minus 1 by 3. That is it. So, on the left hand side, the family name I can keep is the momentum family. On the right hand side, I can give the family name as this is the heat family. So, if we have some sort of a plank or something which is floating, I am pulling it with some velocity over here. This is in the river, so some wake is being formed over here. This is water around here, then some viscosity I know. The surface is having higher temperature Ts. Let us say it is at 80 degrees. The water is cold, 10 degree. So, what this analogy tells us is, if I figure out what is the drag force which is take over here, because that force I have to apply to pull it forward, just by measuring drag force and doing the non-dimensionalized analysis, I will be able to figure out what is the value of Q dot. how much heat transfer is taking place from that particular solid to the fluid. So, this is a very powerful relation. So, if some fluid is going over in the water, it could not be just on the surface, it could be a submarine also or some other things. By the way, there are limitations over here that we have shown over here. So, those limitations I will put in terms of Prandtl number over here. So, this equation is true if the Prandtl number is in this particular range. So, this is the limitation over here, but it is very beautiful that if we know the drag, I can figure out q dot. If I know the q dot, then I can figure out drag. Okay. So, I think let us just do a small flashback and see that from where we have reached to which particular point. So, we started looking at Blasius solution, and these are the solutions from Blasius equation, starting off with this red star over here. So, this red star simply gives the thickness of the boundary layer. How does boundary layer increase as a function of x? And we see it is a square root increase. It is not very large, but very less. So, after 7.5 meters, that boundary layer had become about, I think, 5 centimeter or 2 inches. So, it is very small. If 7.5 meters is almost the width of this particular room. So, across the whole room, and the width of that boundary layer was 2 inches. Of course, velocity we kept low. So, velocity we, if we remember in our this simulation over here, we have kept as 1 meters per second. So, it is a function of velocity as well. If I increase the velocity, then the further boundary layer will become smaller and smaller. So, it is very interesting. Then another we have found is the tau omega as a function of x, and then we have used Cf as a function of x. Based on this, we calculated the overall values of f, tau w and Cf. I think we completed it over here. Yeah, overall value of tau w, overall value of Cf. The same thing then we went ahead and did. So, these things were for momentum, and then similar things we used. This is the from the Blasius solution. We used them as inputs, and finally, we obtained these two outputs over here. These three rather, q dot L, HL and NUL over here. So, this was the first part that we have looked at today. The second part was that we formally wanted to look at the analogy between momentum and heat, and this analogy later on we will find out with species also when we are looking at the chapter of mass transfer. So, right now we are just looking at momentum transfer and heat transfer. Mass transfer we are not looking at today. So, the first step we looked at is we want to do non-dimensionalize these two equations over here in red color, red star that I have shown. So, non-dimensionalization process we have used given on the bottom over here. Then some time we spent, we non-dimensionalize the equation, and finally, we can show over here with red arrow that momentum and heat equation in non-dimensionalized form under the assumption Prandtl equal to 1 look exactly the same. So, it is a very interesting result that we found, and encouraged by this result, then we went on and formally looked at the modified Reynolds analogy, or the same thing known as the Chiltern-Colburn analogy, which actually gives very beautiful relationship between Cfx and Nux. So, if you know one, I can calculate the another. If I know Nusselt, I can calculate Cf. So, Cf directly gives me drag force, Nusselt will give me the rate of heat transfer. So, then one example I have shown over here, this can also be true for aerofoil. So, if aerofoil is there, or maybe in a submarine some sort of a that hydrofoil is there, then if we figure out over here under certain assumptions, if we figure out what is the total drag force which is taking place over here, then indirectly it means if we know the drag force, we can calculate the value of q dot and vice versa. So, both are actually true, and in real life this gives very interesting results as well. So, I can show it with the shading over here, and please keep it in mind that these things are true under certain assumptions. So, the assumption that we have mentioned over here, I have clearly shown that fluid property in this particular case, because Prandtl number is the fluid property, it should not deviate very much. So, over here what we are targeting is that according to the assumptions, the fluid property is such that the Prandtl number has to be greater than 0.6 and it will be lower than 60. So, if we are in this particular range, so that fluid we can choose. So, I think water also and air also both are lying in this particular range under the normal temperatures if we are not going very much deviation. So I think with that we have reached towards the end of this particular lecture. Yes. So I thank everyone, and then we will join again and we will continue the analysis of convection next lecture onwards. Thank you very much.